that great businesses are not built by chasing valuation. And the mantra here is build value than valuations. I think there are four parameters, four verticals which are important. One is growth with ethics. Number two is profitability with purpose. Number three is leadership with integrity. And number four is, to some extent, governance. Good morning, friends, respected guests, mariners. There are a lot of promoters also sitting, entrepreneurs. It gives me a lot of pride to be here today, because the kind of audience today I am seeing here, and my association with mariners is beyond business, because my father was also a mariner and I have closely watched him and seen the kind of discipline, the sacrifice, most important, the sacrifice, the resilience, and the kind of multicultural environment the profession demands, the profession expects. And when I look back at my own career, I think navigating a ship and navigating a company, the kind of traits required in both are more or less similar. So I think the person who has sailed for long or even a shorter period, by default or by naturally, he builds a lot of ability, a lot of skills which are most important in any organization, and not just organize, but building an organization to be a unicorn, and also building wealth. For past several years, I've been privileged to be part of two successful journey, which Pratik also mentioned, and that was not by chance or not by luck. And those days there was nothing called unicorn. I remember that I had gone to Silicon once, and the amount of passion, the amount of people used to talk about unicorn, that's what changed my mind also. So it is important that you connect with people, you visit those countries, those places, you meet people who can actually change your mind. That's very important. Because to start any big initiative or to start something which is out of box, I think you need people who can trigger your mind. And every person, every successful person, or every person who has done something, when you talk to him, he will always talk about people. Somebody who has actually come and triggered his mindset, and that's what the journey starts for that person. So until and unless you meet people, and someday you meet somebody who can really trigger the mindset, and that changes your mindset. And that's what was a big game changer for me when I visited Silicon Valley, because I had spent about 30 days in a Haas School of Management and a couple of other big institutes, couple of other big people who had built companies. There were a lot of Indians also. So when I came back, I actually put three things on paper in the company which I am talking about. The three things was, first was, how can I digitize so that the process becomes simple? How can I create a infrastructure which can make the services simple? Because those days in healthcare, and even today also in healthcare, the challenge is to solve big problem. And the problem in healthcare used to be accessibility, trust, building trust. Even technology lacked understanding of people, because people didn't understand technology. So that was a big challenge. And still today in healthcare, technology is a big challenge in terms of adoption. So basically, when I got this privilege chance to to work for these two companies, I think the first thing was that to solve the problem, a larger problem within the organization and within the industry. Number two, creating trust. Number three, building scale. Number four, resilience. And during COVID time, when you talk to almost all the healthcare people, service providers, they will talk about COVID. What COVID has taught. COVID has really taught us completely different, the paradigm has got shifted because of COVID. Today I'm much more confident after dealing with COVID for almost 3-4 years in India. And that was a real difficult time for everybody, right from the government, right from healthcare service providers and many more. But the kind of confidence we got, the kind of challenges we got, and the kind of resilience we got into everybody in the healthcare system, right from top to bottom. I think that was a big win-win for all those entrepreneurs, all those leaders, and all those people who really worked in healthcare. So these were the big challenges. But I had never thought that these companies will become unicorn. I didn't go and join these companies to make those unicorns. I just went because of my past experience. I have been from, worked with multiple multinational companies. I have dealt with different situations, but never had I thought that my objective is to build the company to the unicorn. And fortunately, the kind of people we had, like Pratik was also talking, the right talent, the right people, the right mindset actually got the company into a great success. And today these two companies are big unicorns, so-called unicorns, and still doing very well. I also kind of worked with a company which was a tech-driven healthcare services, and that was a startup. There also, my purpose of joining that company was to understand the tech, because one business is offline and one business is online. There are two different, channels which got developed during COVID. So you'll find a lot of companies who started online business, they really grew during COVID. But post-COVID, these online companies could not scale. Why these could not scale? Because they were lacking offline infrastructure. Example is Lenskart. And there are a couple of other examples also. So the companies thought, why not to get into offline also? Because online channel is one platform. To some extent, it can help you in scaling, but until and unless you go closer to patients, you go closer to consumers, you cannot grow. Still, that touch in Indian consumers, that touch is extremely important. Until and unless a patient sees a doctor and the doctor tells him those golden words, ki don't worry, tum theek ho jaoge. Because that actually changes this whole psychology of the patient or the consumers. So that touch is important. So hence, both online and offline businesses are extremely important in the success of growth. So that is what I have learned, and my objective of joining that company was to kind of build offline, because that was more of a online company. How do I integrate both these channels and create a win-win situation for that company? And that it was also pretty successful. Then later on, I decided to start my own venture in a small way and look into other aspects of the business, because I was telling Himanshu also that healthcare business actually sucks. Spending about 20 years out of my 38-year journey, 20 years in healthcare actually sucks you so much, because you have to be 24/7 on toes. So I decided to move out of that company and thought of something else. So I'm doing a couple of small things, not large initiative, and that's how Pratik met me. Then I thought, let's work together and do something to build another sort of so-called unicorn. I'm not fan of building businesses to unicorn, because my belief is completely different. That's what I'm going to share here. So post my journey, I think I had few learnings. I want to be very crisp about these learnings. So the first learning is what I feel is very strong, that great businesses are not built by chasing valuation. When you talk about uniform, it's all about valuations. Everybody talking about valuation. Even when you go to hospital, a doctor, a senior doctor, or the promoter who's a doctor will talk about EBITDA, will talk about profit and loss. So do not chase valuation. The only objective is to solve the problem. Solve the problem of the business, solve the problem of people, solve the problem of consumers. Making services, making your SOP so simple that it is adopted very well by the employees, because the challenge in healthcare and many other businesses is that adoption is a big problem. Whether it is doctor, when you talk to a doctor about technology, the adoption will become a big challenge. I'm not sure whether people from healthcare tech are there, except Pratik, are there any somebody from tech into healthcare, like Dr. I think Anilji is there. So adoption is a big challenge. So look at solving problems. Look at creating systems and processes which makes the life simple, and do not chase valuations. And the mantra here is build value than valuations. That is the first mantra which I have learned. Number two, I think, which is again very important, which most of us know, that business is all about network, people to people, whether he's a consumer, whether he's a buyer, seller, everybody is people, everybody is human being. So I think people invest in people only. The investors would look at profit and loss, look at balance sheet, look at return on capital employed, return on equity. But a good investor will back conviction, will back somebody who has execution capability, a person with high degree of integrity, a person who can be resilient. So that kind of investments will actually can be one of the steps to make the organization not only big but also a unicorn. So second mantra is people can make it and people can break it. The third learning, which I think is very, very important and very critical, when you invest or when you work in an organization, when you choose to work, then try to look at something which is a company which is in early stage. Because when I started my first company, my first unicorn company, it was a very small company. In Indian rupee, it used to do about 30-40 crore annually. And today that company has become $2.5 billion. So that startup actually gave me that opportunity to not only build the organization, but also create wealth, not only for myself, but also for the investors, for selected employees, and of course the promoter. So start from beginning, a company which comes with a good idea, which comes with a lot of ethics, a lot of passion, a lot of obsession. I think that's a good opportunity for an investor, for even entrepreneur, for anybody who wants to get into this wealth creation mode. Remember that India is talking about multi-trillion economy by I think 2040 or so, in next 2 decades. Today we are a 3 trillion economy. Now we are talking about 40 trillion. So there's a big opportunity. So India is going to be a big hub for wealth creation. And mark my words, I've seen the journey in last 15-20 years. Those people who invested 15 years or even 10 years back, started something, a new idea, an innovative idea. Today those guys are big, billionaires. Today the time has gone when wealth creation was done by traditional businesses, industries who have been in the business for 40, 50, 100 years. Now people have created those valuations within 10 years. Look at Zomato, look at Blinkit, look at many other companies. Look at Nykaa. Within no time. So today actually the time has come when the legacy is not important, where people talk about nepotism. At least in business there is no nepotism. There is nepotism, but there is a larger vacuum where anybody can start. Today in this room also you'll find a lot of hidden talent, a lot of hidden uh, business promoters who can today build um, huge businesses. So India is full of opportunity and grab the opportunity. Since this fraternity, Mariner fraternity, has got good investments, good money, financially very strong, understanding of global exposure. So use those traits into identifying right opportunity to invest into. The next learning, I think, most important learning for me is to share your wealth. Until and unless you have people, or until and unless you have people who has got skin in the game, until and unless you have people who will share your vision or the promoter's vision, you may not succeed. So sharing wealth is extremely important. In my last 2-3 ventures, the promoters have really shared their wealth. They have become really big, but also shared with their key stakeholders, because consistency in any business is important. You cannot have a business where there is a lot of attrition, because you train people, you spend so much in building or developing the most important aspect of the business, which is the human resource. You have to take this stance, and you have to ensure that people are happy, people are given freedom, build those entrepreneurial skills in those people, and show them future. That's very, very important, because I've seen promoters who will say, "Yeah, salary will to rahi hai." There are many business houses, traditional business houses, I don't name here, they will not share any wealth. They think that their brand is big enough, they can attract talent, but at the end of the day, that skin in the game, and look at the attrition rate of those companies is very high. And that is why smaller companies are growing much faster because of these factors. So the mantra here is culture. Build a culture wherein people are transparent, people come to you, discuss with you, you also act like one of them, and build their careers, build their wealth also. So these are the 4-5 important mantras. And end of the day, if I have to the purpose here is that what is there for a mariner to actually to participate in this large opportunity, the ocean of opportunity. I think you can become leading partners with some funds. You can create a investment syndicate of all the mariners. Beyond real estate, because real estate is definitely a big thing, a very big thing in India. So build an investment syndicate of mariners, have more people into that, like Dr. Agarwal, and there are a couple of other, good stakeholders who can help guide in governance, especially, and build that forum so that in India people talk about this forum, because globally there are many such forums like TIE, which has got different, formats, and they are known people in the investment fraternity. So I think somewhere, Pratik, build that syndicate so that it becomes the top of the mind for all the investors, all the entrepreneurs who wants to actually get money. Apart from that, you can also think of helping youngsters, entrepreneurs, supporting them by funding, and also helping them in networking and so on and so forth. So there are many sort of stuffs. I had a stint with one of the private equity also, because there I wanted to understand the other side of the business. Right from identifying right target, what kind of valuations, what kind of things are required. So those things, you have to continuously keep learning from here and there. That learning should not stop. So to build a great business or a unicorn, I think there are 4 parameters, 4 verticals which are important. One is growth with ethics. Number 2 is profitability with purpose. Number 3 is leadership with integrity. And number 4 is, to some extent, governance. because governance in India is very, very critical, because you know that the kind of hardship all the entrepreneurs has to undergo because of processes, because of whether it is data security, whether it is something else. So you have to abide by all those, governance related stuff. So these are some of my thoughts, and as and when we interact, I think we can discuss more on these aspects. But yes, India is a great country, and I also love my country. I've never, worked outside India, and that's what India needs actually, more sincere investors to create wealth. Imagine from 3 trillion to India talking about some 30-40 trillion economy. There are going to be you need number of entrepreneurs, number of ideas, so much of investments, so much of leaders. It's a bouquet of so many opportunities. So thank you so much, and thanks Prateek. It was great honor to be here, and hope to see you soon. Yeah, thank you so much.
So मैं चाहता हूँ कि आदेश सर को और विजेंद्र सर, इसमें शीट में नहीं था, but I would like if people have questions from both of them, तो कुछ 5-10 मिनट हम लोग Q&A के लिए दे सकते हैं. So I would like to invite आदेश sir also on the stage. So audience में किसी का भी कोई question है तो they can raise hand and ask. किसी का कोई question है? मेरे तो बहुत question है वैसे.
विजेंद्र सर, थैंक यू. मेरा क्वेश्चन विजेंद्र सर से है. सर, आपका मैंने डिटेल्स यहाँ पढ़ी. You've led some very big organizations as a CEO, एंड आपने वैल्यूएशन की भी बात की. मेरा क्वेश्चन वैल्यूएशन से ही है, बिकॉज जब हम वैल्यूएशन की बात करते हैं तो इंटरेस्ट ज्यादा जगता है. लोग आपसे देर तक उसके बारे में बात करना चाहते हैं. पर्पस पे बात करने के लिए इन्वेस्टर्स थोड़े से रिलक्टेंट होते हैं, एंड दे वांट टू सी हाउ फास्ट द मनी विल मल्टीप्लाई. इस पे आपका कोई गाइडेंस?
हाँ, I think you are right, because मैं भी देखता हूँ, because since I have been on the other side also, and at times I used to also ask कि why valuation is so much high? How can you kind of hasten your sort of return on investment? Because see, investment is what? Money is what? Money is something which is generated from different people, जिसको हम लीडिंग पार्टनर्स बोलते हैं. एक लीडिंग पार्टनर्स होता है, एक जनरल पार्टनर्स होता है. जनरल पार्टनर होता है जो कि उस मनी को डिप्लॉय करता है, बट उसके पीछे एक लीडिंग पार्टनर होता है. एंड दीज GPs आर अकाउंटेबल to those leading partners, because ultimately fund उनका है. So his responsibility becomes to actually multiply that money as fast as possible. Because competition is so much. But इसका भी एक तरीका होता है कि that is what relationship counts. Because आप किसी के पास आप फर्स्ट टाइम जब मिलते हो तो आप उससे वैल्यूएशन की बात मत करो, आप इधर उधर की बातें करो. Because तीसरा चौथा जब आपका राउंड होता है, because the other party and this party both have to be in both have to have an alignment. क्योंकि नॉर्मली क्या होता है कि why businesses fail? Because of alignment. Investors versus promoters, दोनों में कई बार देखा कि बहुत प्रॉब्लम होता है. And I'm telling you 90% there is a problem in the investor and the promoter. So until and unless there is an alignment, there is a timeline कि भैया देखो 6 साल मेरे को कुछ मत बोलो या 4 साल मेरे को कुछ मत बोलो. Once that alignment is there, then it becomes easy to actually value. Because then more than valuation, you will look at the person. यार ये आदमी ठीक है, they will support, they will value add to my business, they will create that networking for me, they will create those business lines. So that relationship actually matters. अगर वो relationship बीच में नहीं आएगा, then these things will come. Because first meeting में आप अगर valuation की बात करोगे तो it's not going to get closed. So relationship is important. That comfort, create that comfort for that partner, and promoter also has to create that comfort. I'm telling you, मैं तो 90% डिस्काउंट कर रहा हूँ, 99% इस लाइन में फेल होते हैं. And there would be many investors sitting here also. The kind of challenges they face once they invest with false commitments. उसके बाद business goes haywire. And I've been into that position also where these things happened, and it took a lot of time to actually build companies. If there is an alignment, then I think it becomes easy for both the parties to scale faster. So that's very important. Relationship is important and create that comfort. Industry benchmark होते हैं. Best is to follow industry benchmark because industry में कहीं ना कहीं वो multiple set होता है. But before that, I think build that comfort. That's very important.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Inspiring address, Mr. Vijender Singh. Same for others. So my question is for you, Mr. Adarsh, Dr. Adarsh, in fact. You are a senior member of the law community yourself, and as a small-time entrepreneur, how can lawyers be enablers to entrepreneurs to succeed as a business? Because I can share my experience. Every time I review a contract or an agreement, I resist, consulting a lawyer because of their high fees.
So that's a very good question.
So I look at ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, and I try to make an assessment of what is written there is, okay for me as a businessman or an entrepreneur, and I should not be on the wrong side of it. But how can lawyers enable entrepreneurs in helping them out to understand and do due diligence for new businesses?
Once you consult the lawyers, then there are very less chances of your failure. Because lawyer always see the other side. What will be the negative? Because normally when you go for investment, promoter will project, in 2 years, in 1 year this, and 2 years this, and the third year like this. But we always, when we accept any brief also, we see what will be the defense of the other side. So we never suggest our client to go for those dreams. We try to tell them what is the truth. So once you decide after knowing the minus points, after knowing that you will not have your increase of your profit in the investment, then you will be sustaining in the business. Because if you go with this presumption, what it has been projected, and in 1 or 2 years you feel, oh, there is nothing, then you will also run away. And investor should be there for longer period. In small period, nobody can be successful. I used to be the controlling the legal education in India. Means I used to give permission for starting the law schools. I never given permission for starting a law college with 1 section. I told I will give you minimum 2 sections so that you can survive. With 1 section, you can't survive. So when a lawyer, a true lawyer, who is having the experience, if you are consulting that, then you will be not in dreams. You will not come under that within 2, 3, 5 years. You will be number 1 company in India, or you will have certain percentage of increase of your profit. So that will be the only plus point, and you will remain investor. You will go with a long-term investment. Once you sustain the original time, like child is there, newly born. If you expect newly born child to run, compete, then it is your solution. So, but if you can have a plan for 10 years, 15 years, then you can sustain. So, This is the only plus point. Lawyers may be charging, and lawyers like me, when you are a senior designated, they charge too much. So, but
You can't afford you, sir. Seriously, can't afford you, sir. Sir.
So thank you so much. A very inspiring talk both. I just want to know more in governance part. You said four pillars: one, value, follow value; second, leadership with integrity, and then. But in good governance part, I run an organization for last 15 years, and this is doing good. It has largest student scholarship. But what all things, because you have seen 10 to 100 and 100 to 10,000 journey, what all things we should be careful of right now? We have good governance practices, anything to everything which I know, but anything which you can show us, guide us, okay, how to take this forward from for 10 to 100 to 10,000 journey.
I think, which I keep talking about in corporate world is to be a good corporate citizens. So when I say good corporate citizens, it actually means governance. Because all the organizations are governed by certain laws. Dr. Agarwal can share more on that. And it also includes a lot of statutory stuffs also. Within organization, there are so many laws which one has to follow, especially on equality. Because organizations falter in equality. But these are very strict, there are very strict laws on these. POSH. Transparency, building culture of transparency. See, governance is more about culture. And in that culture, it's like a house where you keep fighting, but at the end of the day, you are all same. You eat same, you sleep under same roof, you breathe similar. So that culture has to build. And to me, governance is about culture, a good culture. Transparency, high degree of integrity, openness, and abiding by all the laws. Other than that, there is nothing which I'm sure in the last 15 years you must be following those. So create an environment where you talk about, good corporate citizens. We only talk about good country citizens, but we must talk about corporate citizens also. So that culture has to build. Governance is all about culture. And what kind of culture you want to build, you have to discuss, you have to talk to people, giving right opportunity to everybody. That is one of the biggest culture. Transparency again, as I mentioned. So there's a battery of lists, but that culture, that governance part, that culture has to be built by you, because culture is all about philosophy. What is that objective of organization? What is that philosophy you are following? And hence you rally all the people around that focus.
करेंगे तो मिल जाएंगे एनी स्कूल प्राइवेट स्कूल कि अगर आपको मीटिंग चाहिए, ये मैंने बहुत बार किया है ओनर से, तो बस यही बोलना होता है कि हरीश चौधरी सर ने मुझे भेजा है आपसे मिलने के लिए, एंड यू गेट डायरेक्ट एंट्री. So he has given his life for solving school education system problems. And because of him, me and Himanshu exist. And many of us exist. And I guess lot of our journey, काफी एडटेक वाले हैं नहीं यहाँ पे, उनकी जर्नी में बहुत मदद की है सर ने. So a big round of applause for Harish Chaudhary sir. And I guess we owe a lot to him. मुझे लगा हिमांशु, तो हिमांशु शायद अच्छी स्टोरी शेयर कर सके. मैं चाहूंगा कि वो हमारे दोनों दोस्त को फेलिसिटेट कर सके.